What is up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to the Sooner Surge for a little 2024 baseball preview as the season begins against Oregon in Arlington, Texas. The Sooners open up, and spring is in the air. The weather is getting warmer, and there is a lot of excitement buzzing around this Oklahoma baseball program, Hunter. 2 years removed from the great run that they went on in the College World Series last year. A little bit of a disappointment, but you look at this roster this year, Hunter. Everyone is excited about what is on this roster and what they bring to the table. And really, tough decisions have to be made for Skip Johnson, and he's the skipper for a reason. And let's get down to it, Hunter. Let's start with maybe the offensive side of the ball. As far as lineup projection, maybe, and just give us an insight, because Hunter, you are a baseball guru. Appreciate you being on here, giving us some insight into the OU baseball team. But talk about maybe who they have returning. Obviously, you got Jackson Nicholas, John Spikerman, and a lot more headlining that, and then a couple of the new guys.
Yeah, start with the outfield. All three are returning. Kendall Pettis, I would assume he's batting ninth. That's really where he's settled in. He's very good in the 9-hole, hits for average, and just clutch fifth-year senior, what Oklahoma needs at the bottom of the lineup. Then you have John Spikerman, who's going to lead it off, switch hitter, one of the best fielders in the country. And then Bryce Madgen in right field, who really does it all. I mean, he can hit nukes. He can hit for average. He can steal some bases. He can play really good defense. This is a very, very good defensive outfield for Oklahoma. I mean, last year it was really good. Now you have a whole offseason of more work for those three guys, more continuity between the two of them in year two of that outfield trio. So would expect big things from all three of them. Bryce Madgen was named to the Big 12 preseason team, the only Sooner to be named to that. Madgen transferred from Cali College last season. So first year at Oklahoma, really picked it up at the back half of the season for them. And then kind of going into the infield, you got Easton Carmichael back. Catcher, was a freshman last year, was very, very good as a freshman. Really kind of solidified himself as a catcher before he missed some time due to an illness. Missed a little bit of time in the middle of the season, but hits for average. I think he also led the team in triples last year. Also steals a lot of bases. So something you don't see every day at the catching department. Somebody able to be as fast as he is, and then also pretty good behind the plate. Again, would expect that to be improved this year for Oklahoma, and they're going to need it early on. Playing Oregon, playing Tennessee. Oregon, they went to the Supers last year. Tennessee went a long ways as well, I believe, to the World Series. And they're ranked by one of the polls. There's about 5 of them. But by one of them, they're ranked up to 5. They're averaging out. They're a top 10 team. Everyone has pretty much agreed on that. So very good team from the SEC. Very early test for Oklahoma before they kind of get back into your normal non-con stretch when they have Wright State following weekend back at L.Dale. But continuing on the infield, you have a few new good faces there. Anthony McKenzie is the one guy that you can pencil in. He is, you could even use a Sharpie, I would say. He is going to be starting in the infield. I just don't know where. He can play everywhere. That's the one guy that, it doesn't matter. Anytime you listen to Skip Johnson talk, it's like, wow, this guy, he really can play everywhere. Last year started out at first base for OU. Went to third base at times, played shortstop even when Dakota Harris was out, did really well there. So can play it everywhere. I could even see him playing second base if need be, because at third base, you have Michael Snyder, transfer from Washington, who was really good for them. That was a late portal addition, batted .254 last year with 49 RBIs and 11 home runs. So adds a little bit more pop to the lineup. Something that Oklahoma hasn't had a whole lot of over the last 2 years. Had a little bit last year, a little bit year before, but for most of the time, they've been kind of more of a contact team. So adding in more pop there is very beneficial. And then you have the star freshman at shortstop, Jackson Willits, son of Reggie Willits, associate head coach, and really it's not an offensive coordinator, but that's what he is, a hitting coach. Has this offense. It's under his full control. It's done really well. Big reason that Oklahoma went to the College World Series 2 years ago. Big reason that Oklahoma made it back to a regional last year in 2023. So, son of Reggie Willits, Jackson was an all-star, state all-star at Fort Cobb-Broxton, a small school in the Oklahoma City area. And he's a star. There's a reason that you're already hearing his name before the season's even begun. I know a few draft boards are already talking about him when he's eligible for the draft in 3 years. So that's a very good sign. D1 Baseball also very high on him. He made one of their top freshman lists for the Big 12. Then you also have two names I haven't mentioned in that infield, or three actually. Jackson Nicholas, who plays second base, played second base the last 2 years for Oklahoma. Would expect an improved season for him. This is now year 3 for him at Oklahoma. Guy that can give you a little bit of pop, hit for average, plays defense pretty well at times. So it's Nicholas, I feel like, is the guy that if there's any sort of margin of error there's somebody else to kind of Anthony McKenzie, I mentioned, to play second base. So if there's an issue there with how looking at the amount of players there are, I'm counting 10. Now, there's only 9 spots, including the DH. That gets me to Carter Frederick, JUCO transfer, who hit 493 last year. That's just unheard of. 13 home runs, 49 RBIs, 596 on base percentage. That's video game numbers. That's Barry Bonds-esque numbers. Just a real power bat that Oklahoma needed. Getting him out of the portal, you could see him play even first base. Skip's mentioned his defense already, that he's not afraid to go catch a ball that sometimes you almost have to just slow down a minute. You don't want to hurt yourself. He missed some time over the offseason because of that. So, and then you also have Rocco Garza-Gongora, who played last year as a freshman, played first base and the outfield and also DH. So another bat that, where does he fit into this lineup? I don't know. Somebody's going to have to be the odd man out. Right now, I feel like it might be Rocco.
Yeah, I mean, that's on paper, that is a very scary, solid lineup that the Sooners are gonna throw out there down the middle. Like you said, Carmichael, Spikerman, Nicholas down the center of that defense. Really, really good on paper. And let's hope it pans out. Let's switch over to the staff, Hunter, real quickly. They got some newcomers on this pitching staff, some arms that are very strong, size-wise, velocity, really have a lot of options that they didn't have maybe in the past. So run us through this staff, if you will.
Yeah, I see a little bit of the similarities that there were in 2022. On paper for the staff, the amount of talent that is there. Braden Davis, transfer left-handed pitcher from Sam Houston State, one of the best pitchers in the portal. D1 Baseball had him ranked really high when he was in the portal. It's not often that you hear on a site like that, the national baseball site, talk about a transfer from a smaller school with a full in-depth article. That happened for Braden Davis, about how massive of a get it is for Skip Johnson, who's regarded as one of the best pitching coaches in the country, to be able to land him. You also bring in Brendan Girton from Texas A&M, someone Oklahoma is very familiar with, playing him at Texas A&M last year at L.Dale. He did really well against the Sooners, one of his best games of the season. So to add him into that rotation is massive. And then you have one returner in the starting rotation, and that's James Hitt, left-handed pitcher who really started to pick it up towards the back half of the season. So you get that another year with Skip Johnson, another offseason of bullpen sessions, fall ball, all of that. And he's going to make his first start against Nebraska. So James Hitt, when he transferred to OU, again, another guy that D1 they've really liked his draft stock. So this season would expect him to be a guy you're hearing come June, July for MLB draft talk there. And I think you can really say that about all three of the weekend starters. You also, the midweek, that's one more starter. There's a lot of options there. You have two transfers from Wichita State, Jace Minor, Austin Henry, and then you also have the Witherspoon brothers. They're JUCO transfers that both have very good draft stock as well, as soon as they're going to be eligible again in 2025. So some tough decisions there. You have Jacob Golston, freshman, who won DFW Player of the Year by one of the local newspapers in the Dallas area. Was very dominant at Flower Mound as a senior. So a guy like that, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, either as a starter in the midweek role or in the bullpen area as well.
Yeah, and there you have it on that paper. And look, we know games aren't played on paper or behind a screen, but if you look at what OU is going to throw out there on defense, at the plate, and on the mound, it could be a very special year for the Sooners baseball program. And hey, they got new turf at Dale Mitchell Field, so there's a lot of good things happening in this program. Skip Johnson has been great on the recruiting trail, and it all starts. The road to Omaha is upon us, and it's exciting. And listen, we will cover it all here at the Sooner Surge. Hunter does a great job following and covering Sooner baseball. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Turn on your notifications and like and comment.
Yeah. And again, one thing that Oklahoma didn't have last year was kind of late bullpen action. This year, I think that's going to be different. Will Karsten, he could be a few innings guy. He was a starter at one point for a good chunk of the season. I believe he was in the opening weekend starting rotation. He's now a guy I did not mention as a starter who will be a bullpen guy. You also have a transfer from Missouri State, Ryan Lambert, who, from everything I've heard and been told and seen, hardest thrower on the team. So get that sorted out back into the bullpen. You're also returning Carter Campbell, who was really good for the Sooners last year, left-handed pitcher. So it's something to be excited about for Sooner fans. And there's going to be I think this is going to be a fun team to watch at L.DaleMitchellPark this year as Oklahoma tries to get back to Omaha, where they were 2 years ago, came up just short against Ole Miss. But this is a team that very well has every expectation to be a tournament team that could go maybe even into a deep run.
That's right. And if you need some OU gear, go to thefanstop.com. Use code SURGE for 10% off your first 3 months of the Shirt of the Month Club. Make sure you check them out at fanstop.com. Thanks for watching the content. We'll see you on the flip side. Boomer.